This is totally inspired by Bill Simmons. So Bill Simmons, Boston sports guy, he is the equivalent of us, but for sports. He's got a book called the Book of Basketball, and he has a lot of these kind of what if scenarios. So like, what if this team didn't draft this person? What if this trade never happened? And I always love that stuff. So as an equivalent music nerd, I geek out about this same stuff. So both of us, or all three of us, came up with a few of these, and we didn't tell each other. There's one of them we did tell each other that we're going to do, but all these that each of us are going to tell, the other two have no idea what's coming. So this is totally going to be freestyle.
Yeah.
So I got super casual on this. I didn't go super
That's
nerdy
fine.
like you guys, but I definitely just thought of some artists or bands, and I'm like, man, what if they were still around? What if they were still going? And what do they, where are they at fan base wise? Sublime's a great example because they're so big on their back catalog. So one that I kind of jotted down was the Ramones, which is obviously a huge act in terms of fan base and what they did to influence the music industry world. And it's just crazy that all these members are essentially have passed away, kind of in order. Joey Ramone in 2001, Dee Dee Ramone in 2002, Johnny in 2004, and Tommy in 2014. And if you look at like anyone's influences or who they state as their influence as a band or as an artist, you'll see Ramones on that list time and time again. And their music, like I got into it a little bit later. I think I got into the Ramones probably 2000-ish, and I was like, oh man, this is such a cool it's like it reminds me of like the Beatles, like really like kind of like sing along jam songs, like fast tempo punk rock songs a little bit, and obviously the CBGB's connection is, I mean, it's in like so many of their photographs and so forth. But I wonder like if Joey didn't die, or like the four members that I had mentioned, would they still be going? Would they still be doing it? Because they were kind of like, in a lot of ways, anti-establishment in a lot of ways. So they're kind of doing their thing. And I just wonder, like, would they still be touring? Would they still be writing? Would they be jaded by the whole, how the music industry is kind of transformed and give up,
So I just doing some
ahead.
quick research. They
Mm-hmm.
would be in their probably late 60s now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, the thing is, to me, they're like the punk Rolling Stones. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And,
Yep.
And the Stones are obviously still going. I don't know how, but yeah.
Stem cell.
And if they were still going, would anyone care at this age?
Yeah, I mean, I never get into the Ramones. I do, obviously, I'm aware of them and their place in history as being, one of the preeminent punk bands early on. But like you said, Nate, they were kind of anti-establishment. And the establishment now, if you're a legacy band like what the Ramones would be or what the Rolling Stones are, is to tour and, maybe even put music out. And maybe they wouldn't want to do that. I mean, so we might, but it would be cool if they were around and still doing that, so that we'd have a chance to see them. Just because I'm a nerd and I would want to see that stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely a good what if as far as how would they have treated today's musical climate before all this coronavirus stuff, where legacy bands, their main income was to still be out touring when you're 60, 65, 70 years old, and be a viable act in some big venues as a legacy act. So that would be interesting for sure.
Yeah, so like you were saying, that's the lens I was looking at this through, was like not so much like really just looking at like the establishment, because just the music industry is just it's a new animal now. Like you're not selling records, so like that means the Ramones would be like doing that U2 thing where they're dropping an album on your iTunes. Like it just doesn't seem like that would work with the Ramones. But then again, like they were great musicians, and I'm sure they would maybe want to continue. I don't know. It's hard to see a band like that. I mean, they almost didn't look like they came out when they did. You'd think they were like even like older than that, because they just look so retro. But that was part of their look. Then again, the Rolling Stones are a music industry powerhouse. You know, tour the world, sell out stadiums. They're, you know, as commercial as it gets, and they got started, you know, over 50 years ago. So things can adapt, but it's hard to see with the Ramones. But I would like to think that they would continue in some fashion. And then something else I was thinking about is maybe they would have split up and become, you know, solo artists. Like Joey Ramone would go on, do his own solo thing, and it'd be like when I was talking about going to see David Gilmour from Pink Floyd and being like, oh man, that was like in my top 5, you know, favorite concerts of all time. And he's just a member of that iconic band Pink Floyd. So it'd be like Joey Ramone touring, playing stuff from the Ramones, and you're kind of getting like, you know, and they're all iconic in their own right, but Joey, you know, playing solo and playing Ramones songs, and maybe even playing some solo material that's stacks up, you know, with Ramones songs as well. But I don't know, it's hard to say. But Ramones, like, you know, it's weird because like talking about that music powerhouse and commercialism and merchandising, like, you know, every record store has a Ramones t-shirt for sale. It's just like a staple item, you know. So whether it's, you know, was in their best interest or it's just like you know, the legacy, and you know,
that
people
reminds me of like those like man on the street things where you see like a 15-year-old kid wearing a Led Zeppelin t-shirt, and they're like, all right, so what songs by Led Zeppelin do you like? And they're like, what are you talking about? Like maybe the same idea if somebody wearing a Ramones shirt, like, all right, like, so is I Want to Be Sedated your thing? Or they're like, what do you mean? I'm too young for that. I just bought the shirt at JCPenney.
So Nate, you took the words out of my mouth where you were like, just something about the Ramones in this, I'll say this technological climate, like with technology, just doesn't seem right. And where my head went is like, what if the Ramones are still around in 2020 and I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see an ad that says, check out the Ramones' new digital single on Spotify. It'd be like, what the hell is, like, it just would not. Right. And the thing is, like I said, they'd be like 70 now, maybe still playing when they're 60, but their type of music, they're in a interesting group of bands, and we'll probably get to this in future episodes, where they're probably bigger now than they ever were. So it's like the demand for them would put them in like maybe an arena show, and I don't think they'd be down for that.
No, yeah. Well, and that, I mean, comes back to the Sublime thing. Like, Sublime with Rome is touring on music from 25 years ago. And would the real Sublime still be doing that today? Maybe not. So
right. Huh.
Yeah, they might be like picking, like, it's like one of those bands that we love seeing that it plays like one song off their, like, the album we love. Incubus comes to mind with Science. They play like one song, but they're mainly touring and, you know, rehearsing all their new material that, you know, maybe we're not as big on, you know. So it's like that back and forth. Like Sublime, that's all they tour on. They might drop a new album as a way to get tour support to go on the road, when really they're really just touring off that old stuff. Whereas the so I don't know, man.
What about the Ramones with Rollins? You know, they have a new singer.
That would be cool.
The Ramones with Ryan Adams before his scandal or something, you know.
Yeah, that would be to see one of those types of bands out with like a different front man that maybe is a little bit younger and can pull off the energy of those early songs. That would be absolutely badass.
Yeah,
the Ramones with Billy Joe.
You would love that, probably. I have always mixed feelings about bands that go on tour with someone to fill the shoes to make it happen. Usually I'm okay with it, because if it's a good show and it's a good fit, Journey comes to mind. They have the guy from the Philippines, saw them with him, and they kill it. That's great show.
Steve O'Gerry, is that his name?
Well, that was the guy before that. I was going to say Steve O'Gerry. Okay. Yeah.
Which is funny because the first lead singer of Journey was Steve Perry. So Steve O'Gerry, Steve Perry.
Any basketball fans out there?
Oh, love basketball. How to speak San Franciscan. We'll leave it at that.
That was a good one, Nate. My head did not go. Well, my head didn't go to Sublime or Ramones, so those are good polls.
Yeah, we aren't just metal.
Right.
Yeah, we like everything. But both those bands, Sublime and Ramones, are making enough money on their merchandise against their own wishes, probably.
Yeah.
The estate likes it.
Yeah, the estate. It's all about the estate.